Join me as I traverse the most physically and climatically diverse landmass in Polynesia, this adventure-packed country at the bottom of the earth, in search of an age-old Maori concept that might hold a key to our planet's survival. I've been to New Zealand many times, but I keep finding reasons to return. There's something irresistible about its natural beauty, something ever alluring about its deep culture, and something enigmatic about how it seems more pristine with each visit. New Zealand was the last major landmass settled by humans, by men and women in stout canoes who traveled thousands of miles across the Pacific. The descendants of those early Polynesian explorers, known as Maori, developed their own mythology and value system to help them survive in this mystifying new world. Now I'm setting out to seek modern answers rooted in indigenous wisdom, hoping to unearth the meaning and origins of something Maori call kaitiakitanga. This complex cultural guideline evokes something like caretaking or guardianship. It's difficult for non-Maori to fully understand, but an important element of kaitiakitanga is a responsibility human beings have to protect the physical world, including the land, seas, and skies. Maori cultural expert John Pinoho provides some pieces to this puzzle and helps me craft my quest. So John, how do I find out what this concept kaitiakitanga means and why it works here?
You have to come with an open mind. You have to connect with Maori people in all walks of life as you travel through the country and get a sense of how they perceive themselves to be kaitiaki. You are delving into another realm, of course. You're delving into a spiritual realm, really. In the Maori world, everything is descended from a supreme being. Everything has its own life force, everything. And probably if you went to Te Renga Wairua, to the spirit tree in the far north, you'd finally come to some understanding of what it all means.
Why do we travel? Excitement, adventure, to recapture that spark of childlike wonder? Perhaps to raise awareness or to put ourselves in our own unfolding myths. But as conscientious travelers, we're increasingly concerned about how our tourism dollars are spent, about our own impact on the environment, and yes, about the threat of global climate change. A tool of the gods. That's how Maori viewed Mount Aspiring, this stunning peak in the Southern Alps where I begin this exploration. With rugged contours reminiscent of the Matterhorn, Mount Aspiring is an adventure seeker's dream. Maori call it Tititea, or glittering peak. According to legend, the god used this peak as a tool to gouge out the coastal fjords of the South Island. Here it sits, upended and abandoned, but pure bliss for modern walkers and mountaineers. Maori have place names for everything, and behind every name is a story. Before contact with the paler civilizations, Maori had no written language, so storytelling was essential to continue the culture. And figuring prominently in many of these stories were the landscapes as characters. To the Maori, the landscapes are alive, and taking care of them is as important as taking care of one's own family. The nearby town of Wanaka is a gathering place for the intrepid from around the world, seeking their own tales of adventure.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Surrounded by mountains and water, this is an ideal launching pad for a glut of outdoor activities. The wildly diverse southern terrain is within easy reach, and wilderness enthusiasts can take on nearly any physical thrill imaginable, and some unimaginable. New Zealand certainly packs a scenic punch for visiting adventure travelers. But can outsiders understand the deep feelings Maori have for this landscape?
For Maori, the landscape and the land, we are the land and the land is us. It's just what we believe. We connect with the land. Whenever we introduce ourselves, it's all about where we're from. The last thing we say is our name, because where we're from and the place that we connect to is our mountains and our rivers, because our mountains and our rivers are our people.
Maori believe that the two main islands of New Zealand were created by the demigod Maui. As a boy, he hid in the back of a waka, or canoe, that his older brothers used for fishing.
When they turned their backs to continue fishing, he cast his magic fishhook out into the ocean. And no sooner had it hit the water than he got this massive bite.
Maui wrestled a giant fish to the surface, causing their canoe to capsize. Maori believe that that giant fish became the North Island of New Zealand. Wellington, at the bottom, is the head of the fish, and the brothers' overturned canoe became the South Island, where we're now standing.
And these mountains that you see, this is the keel of that boat.
That's the bottom of the canoe.
That's the bottom of the canoe.
While much of the scenic world has allowed resort development that ravages the land, shatters traditional culture, and spirits monies away from locals to overseas corporations, New Zealand has become a pioneer in embracing eco-friendly lodgings. Many years have passed since fleets of Maori canoes floated through beautiful Hokianga Harbor, but it remains an unspoiled treasure with rolling hills, small waterfront towns, and a quiet pace of life. Hokianga, named by the great Maori ancestor Kupe, means the spring of the world of light. According to lore, Kupe was the first Polynesian to discover the islands of New Zealand. After sailing around the North Island and giving names to many places he visited, Kupe finally settled here in Hokianga, where spectacular sand dunes seem to roll on forever. It's easy to see the appeal of this place for adventurers past and present. Since Kupe, many generations of Maori lived here, fiercely guarding this harbor. One modern keeper is Koro Carmen, who now celebrates his legacy and shares his culture by operating tours of Hokianga. So here in the far north of New Zealand, what does Kaitiakitanga mean?
I think I can summarise that up in one word, and that one word is tomorrow. While I don't completely understand the concept of that word, what I do know is that kaitiakitanga is about fostering and managing so that we can benefit from that management tomorrow.
This area here is Wairake Terraces, which is in Waiora Valley. Waiora means healthy water. It was originally used by our people for its healing purposes. Geothermal water played a significant part for Maori people. One being cooking, dyeing, the hot water with the different clays we have. We have ochre red, we have the black clay, and we have the white clay. Those are our three main colours. And the hot water was used for dye with that clay to dye their flax. It was also used for the purpose of cooking and bathing, for cleaning themselves, of course, as well as for medical purposes.
New Zealanders of all stripes struggled to survive the centuries and often unknowingly bled the land that gave them sustenance, sometimes coming dangerously close to killing the goose that provided their golden nest. Like a tree, the spirit of kaitiakitanga starts with a seed and spreads outward, with small actions that take root and grow. Kiwis who embrace kaitiakitanga as a lifestyle and worldview know they can lead by example and by sharing their legends, stories, and myths. They hope that as you travel, you'll gather your own stories, and when you leave New Zealand, you'll become a hero in your own tale, and a storyteller too. Here in the northern end of New Zealand, the end of our journey, Maori believe their spirits return. And perhaps that's why this land and its concept of caretaking is so worthy of consideration. Maori believe that all things have a life force: rivers, rocks, mountains, trees, and that we all share a common spirit. It is this idea that we are all a part of nature, not separate from it, that may hold the promise of many tomorrows. And it may be the lesson that holds true for the rest of the world.